Welcome back to Wake Up Bright,
the podcast. I am April Lauren. I share my weight loss and lifestyle content on my YouTube channel, April Lauren. Here on my podcast, I share stories and things that uplift and encourage me. Today, I am interviewing Amber Nelson. She is a Spartan Elite Racer who has lost 100 pounds twice. She is also currently working on her PhD in psychology, and her story is just so inspirational. It's relatable, and I hope you find encouragement from hearing her story today to achieve whatever goals you are currently working on. Hello, welcome.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I am good.
So inspired by your story. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about maybe your upbringing or your story. When was your moment where you're like, maybe I should work on my weight? Just your story, if you could.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to share. I feel like a lot of times when people are overweight, actually like a question that I get now from some of my friends who have gotten close with and know me as a thinner version of myself, they'll ask me like, well, like, why did you get fat? Like, were you abused? Were you like, did your parents restrict food? Like everybody just thinks there has to be like something that happened. That really wasn't the case for me. Like I actually had a really good upbringing, like great family life. Like, yeah, I might have had a family member here or there that was like, I was kind of chubby and they might have made comments, not anything I was like nitpicked at for. And it's kind of always like a little bit of a chubbier kid. And now looking back, I'm like, I wasn't like that big, but I felt that big when I was younger. I knew because I would get, maybe some kids would say things sometimes, but I grew up in a super small town and I had really close friends. And so I think that small town life made it less noticeable because everybody had known each other since like kindergarten. It wasn't like you go to a new school and like you're the fat kid and so you're bullied or something. I didn't really have to deal with that. And I always did sports growing up. I was super active. My small town, we had like a lake. I rode bikes everywhere. I walked everywhere, like hunting, camping, fishing. I was always moving my body. And so I think that that made me just feel like I must be healthy enough, but yeah, like as I got into high school and stuff, I started realizing like, oh, I'm kind of a lot bigger than everybody else. Like I go to sleepovers and everybody be like switching clothes. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like twice as big as all of you. And I really feel like I started to notice a lot in high school or maybe that like 8th, 9th grade area. And I started blaming that like, oh, I don't have a boyfriend because like I'm not skinny like my friends. And that was like a big focal point for me was like, if I was skinnier, the boys would like me, which I feel like was kind of the case for like a lot of younger girls,
Yeah, I think that's so interesting because I think that that's the case for a lot of us, even as adults. Feel like if we were different, things would be better.
When I got to college, it kind of just made it worse. Like I gained weight when I got to college, of course, freshman 15 didn't fail. Like it's not a lie. You get this like amazing cafeteria. You live on campus. You have like snickerdoodles and soft serve ice cream every day. It's amazing. But the weight definitely slowly crept up. I think when I graduated high school, I was probably a bit over 200 pounds. And then like at some point in my first couple of years of college, I was up to like 230. And I hadn't really like weighed myself in a long time. And then I got in a car accident. And so I went to the doctor and they weighed myself and I was like, whoa. And I noticed again in college, like, but I also felt like when I started realizing that like different men had different preferences and like maybe there were men that would be attracted to me in like the body that I was, but it still was something that kind of like ate away at me. And I think when I was like a sophomore, I was dating this guy who played basketball at one of the universities in the area, like 6'8", like tall basketball player. And I'm like, it's because I'm fat. Like if I wasn't fat, maybe he would actually want me to be his girlfriend. And I started trying to do low carb. I think I lost like 10 pounds. I mean, I will admit there was even times where I was like, maybe if I just didn't eat for like 2 days, I think that lasted like a half a day. But funny, but not funny. Like I laugh at it now, but I'm like, that was really sad that I, ever did that. I remember specifically one time going to work and buying Tic Tacs because I was starving. Maybe I lost like 20 pounds around that time. And it was so focused on, if I lose this weight, then like maybe he'll be more attracted to me. Maybe he'll actually want to date me. Like I stumbled into this cycle of like meeting men that wanted to hang out and do what college guys want to do. I allowed myself to be okay with that because I had a very low self-esteem and my self-worth just wasn't there. So I was like, I will take whatever attention I can get. So even if it was only physical attention and not the like emotional connections I was looking for, I was still like, well, I'm all for it. It's something, it's better than nothing. And I think that just like kind of slowly kept breaking me down. And I don't really know, like, I think what really made me want to lose the weight the first time was that my older brother and his wife were expecting a baby. This was in 2010. They found out about the pregnancy. And like a couple months before his birth, I was like, looking at my sister-in-law's sisters. And I'm like, I don't want to be like the fat aunt. Like, I don't want to be the aunt that can't do anything or like have fun with their nephew. And also like, I want a boyfriend and I want somebody who sees me like I see myself. And then also at the time, my dad had been diagnosed with kidney failure and he had gained a lot of weight due to having to be sedentary from being so sick. And he, actually had to end up getting gastric bypass surgery so that he could get healthy enough for a transplant. And I was like, well, I'm going to do the same diet as he's going to do then. Like, I'm going to support my dad. I'm going to be healthy for my nephew, getting get a boyfriend. And then my dad got gastric bypass and I was like, liquid diet, no thanks. Start eating low carb. And that was the only option that I really knew. So I mentioned like my nephew wanted to do it for him. So I started this August 2011 and he was born in September 2011. And, but then it became more of an obsession. Like I would get done working and then I would go to Planet Fitness and go on the elliptical for 2 hours and watch Dr. Oz and learn about.
That is crazy. So we've talked about your story before, and I don't think you said those exact things, or maybe we talked a lot, and I love it. But I did that the first time I lost weight. I did a protein sparing modified fast, which is basically, it was like supplements. So I was like eating like 800 calories a day, but then I would go to Planet Fitness and I was so obsessed. I would go to Planet Fitness and I would do the ellipticals every single day. Yep. It's just interesting. I wonder how many people that's the answer.
Like
right. Yeah. So you were doing low carb, you were doing like 2 hours on the elliptical, then what?
Yeah. So, and I would watch Dr. Oz and get all these weird diet ideas. And I was losing weight. Like I was losing like 10 pounds a month. So I started out, I think that first time I was like 262. And I don't even know when those other 30 pounds happened from like 2008 to 2011, but apparently they did. And I mean, granted, I wasn't like active anymore. I was probably a lot less active than I was in high school because I was working and I was like, I grew up in a town without like fast food or those type of things. We had like a Subway. We didn't have chain places. And it was like, I drank some. I think me and my roommates lived off of like tortilla chips with like Tillamook cheese and sour cream, like, and Alfredo fettuccine that I would make. That's like 1,000 billion calories. So I did low carb and I lost weight really fast and it was super rewarding. I was like losing 10 pounds a month, but then I was like, oh, maybe I could do low calorie and low carb. So I was using the Noom app to like eat 1,200 calories, but also eat low carb. And I just like, there would be points I'd be like, maybe I could just eat less today and less and less. And at the time, my roommate also started the HCG diet, which was even crazier. It was like 500 calories a day and some drops. And it almost became this like competition of who could stick to it better, who could lose more. And I just kept sticking to it. And I was really really proud of myself. Like I ended up losing 98 pounds, I guess. Or no, maybe I must have started at 264 because I remember in August of 2012, it was right before my niece was born. I was flying to New York that day, or like Philadelphia or something. I weighed myself in the morning and I hit 164. And that was like my 100-pound loss. And I went to New York and I ate pizza and pancakes and it was great. And it's actually funny because I went to visit a man friend of mine at the time, and I still talk to him now. And when we talk now, he's like, when I saw you, like, because he hadn't seen me since high school. It'd been like 4 years, and I was overweight then. And he was like, you looked sick. And I look back at pictures and like I did in like 2011 and 12, right after I'd lost that weight, like because all I did was the elliptical. I didn't lift weights. I didn't feel my body properly. Like my cheekbones were sunken in, my collarbones were sticking out. And I've weighed that same weight recently and looked completely different. Like I was skin and bones. And I did go date. Like I had a couple boyfriends in that time, like, or that's what you could call them. I had some interests at the time, people that were interested in me, people that weren't interested in me when I was overweight were now interested in me, which of course just fueled the fire. I felt really good for a while, and then I got too comfortable and I was like, I'm going to start eating carbs, but I'll eat just whole grains. And I'm not really sure when or how it happened, but eventually from 2012 to probably 2014, I gained back 100 pounds. I graduated college, started a new job. I slowly got back up to like 190. And then I think I just stopped weighing myself and I stopped caring. And I started a new job doing behavioral intervention with kids with autism. It was really stressful. It was my first like full-time job since college. I was out and about all day. Like kids' parents are giving them money to go to McDonald's and get donuts. And I was like, I'll go to McDonald's and get donuts too. Like, at the time, my love interest was stationed in another country. I was staying up until 4 a.m. to talk to him and then waking up at 6 to go to work. Like I wasn't sleeping at all. And so I was so hungry all the time because I was so desperate for energy. So I just started living off of like sugary energy drinks and muffins. I would like go to the gas station in the morning before work and get snacks. And then when I'd have a break, I'd go to the gas station again and get snacks. Slowly the weight just piled back on. And then by like April of 2016, I was back up to 200. I gained more. I was 269 pounds at that point, and it was like it came out of nowhere. There was a couple times in between there where like I had work friends and we would try to do like diet bets, or we would try to do low carb together, but I'd lose like 15 or 20 pounds and then they wouldn't want to do it anymore. And I was like, whatever, I don't either. Like I was doing the cabbage soup diet and like all of these just like ridiculous things. But I would do them in spurts of like 3 months. And then I just kind of, gave up and found myself in 2016 again at 269 pounds.
Would you say that would you say that you had an understanding of what a healthy diet looked like? Like not diet as in like a diet, like the Atkins diet, but like a well-balanced nutrition plan. At this point, do you think that you had any idea what that looked like or what that would look like for you?
No, absolutely not. Because when I ate low carb, I was living off of cheese and bacon. I ate cauliflower and broccoli because I knew it was low carb, but I didn't understand like, I guess this kind of goes back to like growing up. I lived in a small town. We had one tiny grocery store. Fresh produce was very minimal. I mostly grew up eating canned and frozen fruits and vegetables. That wasn't like, and rice-a-roni, and maybe that's just something of kids of like the 90s and 2000s, but like we didn't have like a farmer's market. Like we my parents grew up in the same small county that I did, with parents that didn't have a lot of money. Like, we all just were living off the same type of thing. So that's not something, I mean, yeah, sure. We would have rice roni with canned vegetable and, a steak or something for dinner. So, I guess that is, somewhat well-rounded. My parents had the basic staples going on, but I think I even like further reversed that, like in low carb eating, because there wasn't anything like balanced about it. I was eating the fattiest meats I wanted to. I mean, I'm like getting pizza and eating the cheese and pepperoni off. Like low carb completely, I think, like screwed over any idea of healthy eating that I had. But when I was I guess out of college, I think it was like the year before I decided to full on diet and trying to lose weight again. I did do like the 21-day fix by Beachbody for a while. And while I don't love the whole Beachbody trend, I do think like I did that very obsessed thing where I like bought the containers and then made myself a whole book and stuff. And I do think that helped me to get a basis of like how much protein I need to eat and like what a good amount of protein looks like what a good amount of carbs looks like. I feel like I learned a good amount from that. And I don't like the whole, like, I guess, scheme, if you will, behind Beachbody, and like the coaches and that kind of stuff isn't like my favorite, because I think it can be another trap and get very obsessive. But I think that helped me build some staples and start thinking about what actually a well-rounded meal looked like. Yeah. And then I think like once I started trying to lose weight again, I did do low carb again. So I think it was like April of 2016, I did low carb again. So I fell into like the whole same trends. And like, I really like cooking. I feel like I am a good cook, and I love watching like Food Network and that kind of stuff. And so I guess that probably taught me some things about like most of those meals are pretty well, rounded. But like, I did low carb from like April 2016 until January. And at the time, I also started working out with a personal trainer. It was just one-on-one, like a half hour a day, mostly strength training stuff. And like earlier, you asked me like what got me into like wanting to lose the weight. I don't really know what did it the second time. Like, I don't really have like a reason for like why. Like, I don't remember anything triggering. I think I just woke up one day and I was like, I feel like crap. Like, I don't even want to walk my dogs around the block. Like, I feel uncomfortable in my clothes. I'm like wanting to wear sweatshirts in the summer. I don't want my legs to show. Like, I feel trapped and I want out. So I started approaching it differently. I did do low carb again because that's what I knew worked. And then I got a personal trainer, and I worked out with him like 5 days a week at 6 a.m. for months, from like, I think it was June 2016 until like April 2017. But in January of 2017, I for some reason decided like what I was losing wasn't enough. And I had mentioned to him that I had been eating 1,200 calories, and he was like, what? Like, you can't eat 1,200 calories. Like, you are working out a lot with me. Like, you're building muscle. That's not enough. And I would also do that with him. And then I would go do the elliptical at the gym, or like I had this crappy bike I would go ride around on. And I don't think it was until he said that to me that I was like, well, why? And at that point was like, I had a bachelor's in psychology at this point. I had some basis of like being able to understand research, and I knew how to look up real evidence-based information, not random things on the internet. And so I think when he made that comment to me was when I kind of started looking. I'm like, well, why can't I eat 1,200? What can I eat? What do I need to be eating? And that was because I wanted to switch from low carb but I still wanted to lose weight. So I started tracking calories, and you just see these like 1,200 calorie meal plans all over. So I kind of fell into that trap. But then once he said like, that's too little, I kind of started exploring more and figuring out like, okay, well, if I'm going to eat more calories, like at least eat as much as I'm like, at least be in a smaller deficit. Like if I'm burning at a Fitbit at the time and I'm like, okay, if I'm burning 2,500 calories, then I at least need to eat like, it's still unhealthy, but it would be like 1,500 or 1,700. And I started figuring out ways like to build meals to where I could have enough food and not feel hungry, but still be losing weight. So I was like, okay, like like regular white rice or broccoli or something like those don't have a lot of calories, but I can eat a lot of volume. And I think that's kind of where my journey of like understanding a more healthy diet started. But I don't think it's been until this past probably year and a half or 2 years of being an endurance athlete and being surrounded by other athletes that I really understood what a healthy diet looks like and the fact that a healthy diet is not the same for everybody.
Going back, so in 2011, you started, or was it 2012, you started to lose weight?
So August 2011 to August 2012, I had 100-pound weight loss.
Okay. And then from 2012 to 2014, you regained.
From 2012 to 2014, I did gain, but not a ton. I think I got back up to like 210 and I would fluctuate. Okay. I would go to parts where I would go back to like, again, I had the same love interest. Like he was coming back from Korea in March of 2014. And I was like, I think I weighed myself and I was like 196. And I was like, I need to be back to where I was when he last saw me, which was like 180 or something.
Just like the diet bets and then like other kind of cycling. Mm-hmm. You're just kind of cycling and dieting. Yeah. And then in 2016, you had a desire to move better and felt trapped by your size. And so you started to work out. And you worked out with a trainer for, it sounded like about a year.
We would do 30-minute sessions 5 days a week. And then I would sometimes go do my own like cross training, like elliptical stuff afterwards.
Yeah. At what point in your journey, so this is you're working on losing that 100 pounds, the second round. You've been working out with your personal trainer and on your own. You've started doing some research and figuring out like starvation and the fads or trends, things that are marketable and packaged to you as the answer. So you're doing your own research and kind of trial and error, figuring out a healthy diet for yourself. When do you decide, I think I want to run a Spartan race?
April 2017, I had hit that 100-pound weight loss, or it was really close. I think I was at like 95 pounds lost, right? And my personal trainer that I've been working out with was going to move. He was joining the Air Force. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like, you're my lifeline. Like, you've taught me everything I know. Like, I had gotten really excited about working out and like seeing myself progress and like getting better at a push-up and getting stronger. And those were the things that I started falling in love with rather than the way that I looked. I was excited about the way that I looked, but I was like really into what I was able to do. And so he was going to leave and I got really freaked out that I wouldn't be able to hold myself accountable because I was about to hit my weight loss goal. He was going to leave and I was like, I need something. Like something has to keep me on this. Like I don't want to do what I did all over again. And so I was on Facebook and I saw like a local gym just literally around the corner from my house had advertised for like an 6 or 8 week like Spartan race. And I had no idea what it was, but it was like, come join our thing. And it was cheap, honestly. It's right around the corner. So I went and did like a little console and I signed up. I was still kind of doing the same thing with food, tracking calories, being obsessed with my Fitbit. Fitbit was life, like that app. I had to track my food in the app. Like I was still much too obsessed with tracking of food. And I, so I joined that gym. And so that was like I think it started in like May of 2017. And then the Spartan race was, I believe, June 23rd of 2017. So yeah, I started working out with them. And then I realized like that I was really competitive. It was always group training, and I hadn't ran in forever. Like I threw discus and shot put in high school, but I always tried hard. I think my weight really held me back. We would have this one workout where we'd have to run down the sidewalk and back. And I was like, I don't want to be last. Like I've been last my whole life. I've always been last. Like I'm not letting that happen. So I would just book it and run as fast as I could. And I would beat like most of the people. And this guy, Andy, this older guy, nicest guy ever. Like I remember one day he goes to me and he goes, "You're really fast." I mean, he's like 40 years older than me, but I'm okay. Maybe not that. He's probably like 30 years older than me. But I was like, I am? I'm no, like looking around, like, who are you talking to, Andy? And I was like, am I fast? Like, could I be fast? And then, at the time I'm still trying to learn how to climb a rope, failing miserably. I'm trying to be brave enough to take my body across these hanging rings because to me, my body was still 100 pounds heavier. But I could lift heavy weights and I could run according to Andy fast. And then we had a group workout at a park on a Saturday and I was terrified. It was supposed to be like a Spartan simulation. So go to this park with a big hill, run up the hill, come back down, do some bear crawls, run back up with the bucket, come back down, do some monkey bars. I was like so scared. I almost failed. Like I was really terrified of going. And then I went and I worked so hard. Like I ran so fast to me. And I remember the group trainer had texted me afterwards and he was like, you did so good out there today. Like you're such an athlete. And I was like, who, me? Like I'm an athlete. I'd never been called that in my life. And I just got really excited about something then. Like I did want to look a certain way. I still had a few pounds that I wanted to lose, but at that point I found something new that I could fixate on, which was my group training, which I went to. So after the Spartan thing was over, I signed up for the membership and I went Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. every day, literally like until basically the pandemic started. Now on the weekends, we would have sometimes trail runs on Saturdays or other workouts, but Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. like I was there. Although, I mean, throughout time, it ended up fluctuating. I went at some other times as well, but every single day for an hour, group training gym, I was showing up.
I would like for you to walk me through like your first Spartan race. What did you see? How did you feel? Take us through that experience. I'm really curious what your very first Spartan experience was like.
It was a local race. It was like 45 minutes for me. Super nervous. Like I didn't know what to expect. I'd never done any type of, I think I did like a color run once, but that was such a different thing. Like while I was Spartan racing, the open wave, the idea is normally that you can get help on any of the obstacles. You don't have to do the burpees if you don't want to. You take your time, you take it easy. That wasn't my brain. You run as hard as you can. You try as hard as you can on every obstacle. But if you need, I didn't even know that. I don't think that getting help was something that I really thought of. I didn't even know what it would be like because back then they didn't even have all the obstacles on the map. There were still like surprise obstacles. And I learned to climb the rope. I did it for the very first time the week before the race. And so I was like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get that. I think I was able to do the rings at the gym at that point. So yeah, when I got there, luckily I had a lot of because I was there with my gym mates, I had so many like great friends. I was nervous, but like super excited. And I had my headphones in, which is against the rules. People do it anyway. But I look back and I see myself with those and I'm like, oh boy, I was that person. But yeah, so we took off and it was full. Like I was really, really terrified and nervous, stomach upset, wanted to vomit.
Was this your first, so I know you said you did shot put and things in high school, but like as an adult, was this your first like athletic endeavor? Had you run like 5K or walked or done anything previous?
I did do a 5K color run that first time I lost the weight, but it was just like a for fun thing. And I had no intention of like anything performance based. I didn't have any expectations. I literally went with like my sister-in-law and her sister and friend, and it was just like fun. So yeah, this was the first like pressure on kind of thing, even though
Like
nobody
sweaty
could.
palms, you were sick to your stomach. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, and then I know it's not really the Spartan ethos, but then especially, I don't think skipping burpees was really an option. Now it is. Like there's even signs and things they'll put out on the course. So it's a lot different. Probably about the time I feel like they bought Tough Mudder, I think they scaled down the open heats.
Like my gym was like, you fail an obstacle, you got to do the burpees. And so I went out there as fast as I could. I failed everything. I failed the monkey bars. I slipped off as soon as I grabbed it. I did fail the rings, even though I could get them at the gym. I failed them in the race. I failed the rope climb, slid down, I got like to the top and I just slid down. And at the time I didn't know, or maybe it wasn't back then. I didn't know that it was multiple attempts. They still did Twister there. They had Olympus there. Failed those. I failed my spear. So in a sprint, I failed at least 6 obstacles. They also have the bender there, which is an obstacle they no longer put in sprints. And it's terrifying. Still freaks me out today. And I was so scared. And I remember this man helping me and his daughter over. And I remember getting to a 6-foot wall and being like, how am I going to get over that? And being so upset because I couldn't get over it on my own. There's nobody there to say, like, do burpees, because you don't usually burpee at walls. And some guy came and I followed him the whole race. I would like catch up to him and he put his knee down and was like, hop up. And I hopped on his knee and jumped over and had to do that on all the walls. So I didn't burpee those. But yeah, I did. Gosh, it must have been 150 to 180 burpees. And I did every single one of them. So to me, even though I got help on the walls, when I finished, and I think my time was like 126 for a sprint, but it was almost 5 miles. Like when I finished, I was like, I think I got like 10th in my age group. Everybody at my gym, like even the guy at the gym, what everybody's rankings were, even though we all ran open. And really until last year, I'd actually never done a Spartan race for fun. I didn't go out there to do that for fun. I did that to challenge myself, to try to beat the time of all my gym mates.
So you got top 10.
The open category, but of the women my age for open, I was top 10. Or maybe I might have done 11th. I think he still said something. I was either 10th or 11th. But yeah, to me at that time, yeah, that was like a big deal. I didn't know what any of that meant. I didn't realize there was a competitive and an elite wave. I didn't know that existed. So
you placed really well. So when I do anything that I do, I'm like, I just don't want to be last. And if I am, it'll be okay. Cause I have a weight that I'm like, if I can't do something, I'm not going to sacrifice my mobility in order to try. So I have to have a pretty good level of confidence that I can do. And that's probably preventing me from progressing as fast as I could, the level of confidence that I require of myself to do anything. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I have to be like, sure. I'm like yesterday at the climbing gym, I was describing an issue I was having with rock climbing. It's the moving like kind of laterally in place on the left side. I describe it other than that, but they're like, well, what you could do is just traverse along the bottom of the wall. Like, then you don't need to be like roped up. You can just go. And I'm like, absolutely. I will not do that, because even a fall like that far right now, I just don't want weight coming down even on a pad. So, I mean, I could probably do that. I could probably hop down from where I would be and be just fine. But there's like no confidence right there. What did that do for you? Did you run another race or want to do another race immediately? Was it like a period of time before you did it? Or was it just like from then on, you regularly, consistently ran?
So I did want to do more because like my gym mates were doing like Utah that year and Tahoe, but financially, like it wasn't something I was going to be able to do. So I just continued to work out at the gym. I guess other than I did go to Disneyland for like a week that year. That was the only time I ever took off. But I walked like 1 billion steps a day. And I was very anxious about that because the gym became my new fixation and I didn't want to not work out. That was a little problematic for me. June 27th of 2018 was the next Boise Spartan race. And so we did the same thing as the year before. We like geared up for it. 8 weeks out or so, we started doing Spartan specific training and I got even more excited. And actually that year, so I did open again. And then that's when they had changed from doing just like a big competitive wave to like age group waves. So I did open in Boise, and then I got more than the years before, but I still needed help on like walls and stuff. And then the Utah race was like the next month, like just a few weeks after. And everybody at my gym was talking about how hot it was, and that in order to avoid racing in the heat, they were going to sign up for age group. And I was like, I don't want to get hot. I don't want to die out there. And this is when supers were like 8 to 10 miles. And so I had done 2 sprints now, and I wanted to do this super because I wanted to get the trifecta. And so I signed up for age group. I read the rules when I signed up from age group, and it, was like, you can't get help on anything. You have to do all your penalties. Like, no problem for that. I already did all my penalties. I just wanted to follow the rules. I wasn't thinking I was going to get first or anything. I didn't think anything about placement. I just knew I had to follow the rules. So when the obstacle course map came out, and they stopped hiding obstacles at this point, so they were all listed, I got onto YouTube. I found a video for every obstacle listed, and I watched people do it and hoped and prayed that I could do it too. The walls were the things I was most worried about.
I'm glad you said that about the wall. So I walked the Spartan with my husband. I wanted so bad my first Spartan to be like that. And I didn't even know the changes had occurred. So now it's completely different. Once upon a time, so back when you did your first Spartan, the sprint was an ambiguous amount. Like, my husband did a super in 2016 in Washington, and it was over 12 miles. Just the super. So it was it was definitely more like Spartan ethos, I would say, than maybe now. But when I went to the one here, I was really disappointed because my goal last year was to lose enough weight to actually be able to do the Spartan and run it. And like, I had like a very grandiose ideas for myself when I saw him run it right after we moved here. And so then I was kind of like, I was so excited for him, and he had finished. It was his fastest one that he'd done so far. And we're getting his t-shirt, and we saw a girl from our gym and another girl who had already lost 200 pounds. She weighed over 400 pounds when she did her first Spartan race. I don't remember exactly what that was. And I felt like she had already lost 200 pounds and still wanted to lose like 100 pounds. I think that's true. I'm sorry if you're listening and I'm messing up your story, but she's like, just do it. You can walk it. So my husband and I literally frolicked like through the course. Like, it was we walked the course, like the entire thing. And I didn't do any burpees. And what I like about it is that I can actually see myself doing it. And I have like a more realistic view of what I need to do to be able to do that. And then on the other hand, it was definitely not like the Spartan, like tough experience that you did. And then the next weekend we were in DC for his competition. He did like an NCO of the quarter competition, but it was also the DC, like the nationals, I think it's the stadium. Yeah. So I signed up for that, and I signed up age group. It's still not like, this is a completely different level of what you're talking about. I was going to do the burpees, and that's what I did, but I couldn't do the walls. So I was the only one doing burpees for those walls. Like, I asked at the beginning, and they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I guess I better do them, because the age group runs, in order for them to like do your time and for you to not be disqualified and taking off, like, you have to go through and do and prove like that you've done everything. And so anyway, it was a very long-winded point for me to just say, I'm not happy that you struggled with the walls, but I thought I was literally the only person in the whole world who couldn't do the walls. Like,
so yeah, you're not. And I actually, I almost fell the wall at the race in which I got 4th place last year because, well, I hurt my hamstring, and it was slippery wall. I mean, it was just a 6-foot wall, but it was wet and muddy in Jacksonville, and I could barely get over it. I actually went and started doing burpees. I'm running like a national series age group sprint, and I'm like doing burpees. And I was like, no, this is not a thing. This is not happening. And I finally was able to get over it. Like I went back. I was like, I'm not going to give up. But I mean, that was really because I hurt my hamstring very badly on the wall, but I still suck at walls. Like I struggle. If they are wet, it is a struggle. The way that I get over them, I don't have confidence in my upper body strength. So I grab the top of the wall and I walk my feet up. And it is embarrassing in the elite field.
I would have thought to do that.
I'm actually better at the 7 and 8 foot wall than I am the 6-foot wall. I've got over the 6-foot wall by just jumping, anchoring my arm and swinging my leg. That's what all the other elite girls do.
Or are you just running and jumping?
No, they have a step or block. However, like there's a ninja gym here and I've gotten over an 8-foot wall by running, planting my foot, grabbing the top. Now I'm taller. I'm 5'8". So I've been able to plant my foot, push up, grab the top, and then walk up. But they have, so the 8-foot wall has 2 stepper blocks that you can step on. And then the 7-foot has 1. However, like one of my good friends, very good elite athlete, she actually failed the 8-foot wall in Utah this year because it was at a slant and she's not tall. So when she would go to jump up, she was like, couldn't get her hands on top.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did the Utah race. I got all the walls. They even had 8-foot wall, I think, in that race. And I did get all of them. I didn't need help on anything. I failed many things still. I failed like Twister, Olympus, monkey bars, the multi-rig, the spear throw. That's probably about all that was failable in that race, but a lot. I did a lot of burpees and somehow I got 11th. This is real age group, a national series race.
Wow. Like that's so impressive. Like 11th in a national. So when you do a national series race, for those of you listening, with a national series races, it's like double the people. And they're people who are trying to be competitive in age group. It's not like most of the races, people were like, yeah, I'm going to sign up for age group. And then you do, and you are kind of competing with yourself. But like at a national, you have people who are set out to, well, you always have people who are set out to win, but you have more of them. So that's really impressive. And this is like your third race.
Yeah. And my first ever over like the 4 miles or whatever, which I had started trail running. So after that Boise sprint in 2018, we were doing weekend trail runs. So I slowly built up to like 8 miles, but I was literally only running on Saturdays. And then like we do laps around the gym one other day of the week. But at that time, so like Annie Doobie and Ashley O'Hara, they are actually like on the women's pro team now. They were on my age group podium. So it was kind of cool, like to see where they are now. And then
is the pro team all elites, or that sounded really Southern. So if you're an elite, you're on the pro team.
No.
Okay.
So I'm elite. I race elite. I am not on the pro team.
Okay.
You have certain things that you have to meet. It changes every year. But this year you have to have had 6 podiums and been within 90. I don't know all the logistics, but there's something with like 3 wins or 6 podiums to be on tier 3. You have to have met these performance metrics last year. So like for me, like I won't be on the pro team next year either because I'm like last all the time in elite. But so yeah, so not all elites are on the pro team, but all the people on the pro team are elite athletes. Okay. So yeah, so then I went on and did the Portland sprint after that. So I actually had, I'd been maintaining my weight loss. I sold my house, and then like moved in with my brother to save money for a while because I was just like killing myself by working, like doesn't seem like a lot, but I was working like 45 hours a week, and I was teaching English online to kiddos in China. And then, so I was waking up at like 4 a.m. to do that for like an hour and a half. And then I would go to the gym for an hour at 6, and then I would go to work. And I was just like working out and working all the time, and then driving myself into the ground, not eating enough calories, still doing that restrictive thing. But anyway, so in 2018, I was like, I'm going to sell my house. Like, I just feel like I'm in a hole. I need extra money. I want to do the Spartan thing. I can't afford it. So I sold my house, and then I made that like my first Spartan year. So I did the age group race in Utah, and then I went to Portland and I did the sprint there, and I did age group, and I think I got like top 10 there. I can't remember. No, I might have
remember, it's not important if you can't, but can you remember what you were striving for calorie wise? Because you were still tracking things pretty heavy at this point, or no?
I didn't have a calorie goal, so I was basing off of a deficit. And so I would just like, it was really terrible. I would just try to stay in like a 500 to 1,000 calorie deficit like every day. So
whatever your watch said. So if your watch was like, today you burned 3,000 calories, you eat 25. If it said you burned 18, then you would eat 13.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of that kind of thing. And I burned quite a bit, but I was still very stuck in that mode. And now in 2018 though, I did actually get kind of off of the tracking. And I gained weight actually. So I did the Portland sprint in August, and then I went and got my trifecta in Seattle. I did the beast. That was like my first ever time running a beast. It was like over 13 miles. And that's when I failed like hurdles. I think I might have failed the 6-foot wall because it was wet and I couldn't get over it. And I had gained weight back. I think I was like 190 something because I had sold my house. I moved in with my brother, and my routine had just like changed. I was trying not to focus so much on like what I was eating. And I got back to like 190 something. I see pictures of myself at that race, and I'm like, no wonder I like couldn't get over walls, because like I had gained this weight and didn't know how to work with it.
So I know that at some point you decided you wanted to fix your nutrition so that you're eating like an athlete needs to eat in order to properly fuel your body. When was that for you? Like, when did you start meeting with the sports nutritionist?
So the changes actually kind of came before the nutritionist. So I raced 2018.
Okay.
2019 came along, and I had met my now coach, Ashley Heller, who's on the Spartan Pro team. I actually met her through the gym that got me started in Spartan, but I had started reaching out to her in 2019, like asking her for some tips on grip and like how to get better at monkey bars and that kind of stuff, because I had went, because I had just been like struggling, and I was getting ready to do like another age group season. And she was like, so she lives here in this area in Idaho. And she was like, well, if you want to come work out with me, I am a personal trainer. Like I can work it out with you. So I would work out with her on Fridays, and she was teaching me all these like things. And I had a Fitbit and she had a Garmin, and like, I wanted all the cool things. I wanted to be like the cool kids. So I got the same Garmin that she had. And I was like, how do you track calories? Like, if I have this watch, how do I track calories? She's like, what? I'm like, my Fitbit, I have to use the app. I have to track my calories in there. Cause at this point I had so I mentioned I gained weight like the fall of 2018. And then I got kind of like fixated on wanting to lose the weight again, and got really worried and really paranoid about like that I would just keep creeping back up. And so for a couple months at that point, like that spring, I had been really tracking, and she was like, you don't? And I was like, I have to, I'll get fat again. Like, and she's like, you are no longer trying to lose weight. Cause I think at this point I had gotten back down to like that 170-ish. And she was like, you are no longer somebody trying to lose weight. You are an athlete, and you need to eat like an athlete. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And, you know, I was like, then I think I started doing kind of like more research and realizing that I needed to eat when I was hungry, listen to my body more. I did do meal prep a lot at this point, actually. And my meals were really well-rounded. I mean, I was doing like rice, broccoli, ground beef, kind of the traditional things that you see, grilled chicken with veggies and potatoes, steak, that kind of stuff. Like, I had a pretty clean, lean diet. I didn't really eat a lot of dairy back then, because I was like, oh, cheese and mayonnaise, and that's all fattening. But I had, severe, like I cried when I got a Garmin, because I was like, I'm going to get fat again without this Fitbit.
And Garmin's are so expensive. So I can only imagine, like, you make this huge investment and you put it on, you're so excited, and you're like, what did I do? This changes everything. This is not worth it.
Yeah. I bought it for like $300 off Facebook Marketplace. There was no returning it. Right. So, and I don't really I think because I had her like, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to start trusting my body then. And I know that in my head, I still restricted. Like I stopped tracking. I figured out a solution. You could just use MyFitnessPal, but it was still different from what I knew. And so I just try to listen to my body more. And I was able to I think like I did start running a little bit more and stuff at that point. And so I was able to maintain the weight loss. And then so 2019, I think I might have done like 12 Spartan races, all age group. I qualified for the world championships in Tahoe and about died. I got like 17th place and I did horribly because I did not eat anything during my race, but like 3 gummy bears, and it was horrible. And I was like, I need to do something better. So I hired her, my trainer, as my running coach. And she's been my running coach ever since October 2019. And then in 2020, obviously, we had the COVID thing. So we went and did one race together. I raced age group. I moved up an age group and I got 4th place. So 2019, I was on the podium 3 times for sprints. And I never thought that was something that could happen for me. So I think I got 2nd place and 2 third places. And I was like, well, maybe I can be good at this. And so she started coaching me, programming all my running. And then when COVID shut everything down, my group training gym shut down. So I switched to having her do all of my coaching. So strength training, cross training, running. She's been doing all of it since. So it's been like 2.5 years. And I feel like after she said that, I kind of threw out the calorie counting. There have been times where I wanted to lean out, but I've kind of like looked in, like tracked myself here and there. But this winter, so I last year did age group again. So 2021, I think I got like 12 podiums and I won the North American championship race for my age group. I won and I jumped into a couple elite races. I got 4th at one. And then I think I did like 3 other elite races last year that I didn't do like that great. And they were just small ones, but so I gained a little bit of weight this winter. So like last year, 2020, 2021, I was often sitting between in the summer when I'm like sweating a lot, my workout volume's high. I'm like sitting between 162 and 168, and that was fine with me. And then I kind of got to the point this winter where I was creeping up to the 170s and I wasn't really understanding why. And like my coach and everybody reassured me, like, it's okay in the off season when we're not working out so much, like we'll gain some weight. It's normal. It's healthy. You need to gain weight so that when you start up the workload, your body can handle it. And it had been bothering me though. And then like the season started and I still was like sitting around like 170 and feeling like really uncomfortable with it. My clothes were fitting different. And then I also have a lot of stomach issues. So most people that run know that for a lot of people, there's a lot of GI issues, like bathroom issues, and it kept getting worse for me. So I reached out to Fly Nutrition on Instagram. She's a dietitian who works with endurance athletes, and I always loved her posts. So Fly, just FLY Nutrition. So I reached out to her and I was having a problem because I wanted to lose weight again. I just wanted to lose 5 pounds, but I knew that I could be sacrificing my performance if I fixated on trying to lose weight. So trying to find a balance of running 30 miles a week, cross training 3+ hours a week, and weightlifting, but like also watching your calories enough that you can lose 5 pounds, but also being fueled enough to do your workouts like is really hard. And I was getting really anxious. I started tracking calories on my own, and then I was getting too restrictive because I started to play this fun game with myself. Like, oh, you're in even though you're only going to eat a 300 calorie deficit today, because that's the healthy thing to do, you're not really hungry. It's 8 o'clock and you're in a 700 calorie deficit. Just go ahead and go to bed. And, I was like this like competition with myself, like it's okay to go to bed hungry kind of a thing. And I wanted help with losing a few pounds, but I didn't want to get to that point that my nutrition would suffer. Or that my performance would suffer due to lack of nutrition. So I started working with her, and she taught me a lot of really cool, like how to build an athlete's plate, how to eat like based on what kind of workout you do that day. And like I'll be really honest, I'm struggling right now with weight because I'm like slowly I've creeped up to like the mid 170s, and it's really terrifying for me. Like I know if I continue my lifestyle, there is no way that I'm going to end up at 270 again. Like I know that. But then I'm also lining up, so I don't race age group anymore. I race completely elite. I've been doing the North American Elite National Series, or whatever it's called, the North American Elite Series, with all the elite girls. And I get almost last every time, which has been hard. It's a little bit of an identity crisis. I don't get to get gold medals anymore, and I'm last, and I'm bigger than the girls. So it's hard to not kind of revert back to that, like, feeling of like, if I was thinner, I would be better. But luckily there's so many like positive role models in the community, that I can kind of keep myself away from that. But I have been struggling trying to understand, like, I burn at least 3,000 calories a day, if not more, with my workout volume. Like I don't eat like trash. Like for breakfast today, I had a bagel, and tea. For a snack, I had like some skinny popcorn and a mama chia pouch. I had a turkey sandwich for lunch. Like I ate a normal amount of food. I haven't done my workout yet today. Now tonight I'll get ravenous and I'll have like yogurt and cereal and dinner and all these other things. But anyway, so I've been like kind of struggling, trying to understand why I have slowly creeped up 10 pounds from my normal weight. But it's caused some anxiety for me. But I also recently used like Inside Tracker blood test and found out that my vitamin B12 is way lower than it used to be. 2 of my sex hormones, which influence like metabolism and energy, are lower than they used to be. My cortisol, which is your stress hormone, is really high. So I'm going to actually consult. I don't work with that nutritionist anymore. It was like a 3-month thing. So I'm going to consult with her to figure out what I need to do. I'm guessing that some of the weight gain has to do with I'm just having some metabolism issues because my cortisol is really high. My body's really stressed from all the things I put it through. But that has been a struggle. I mean, anybody who's lost weight, whether you've maintained it, I mean, I've maintained ish, give or take here and there, for 5 years now, 5.5 years. So, but it was okay for me. Like I still use the scale. I know everybody says to throw that thing away. Like I use it, you can see it like right over there in my bathroom. Like I use it a lot, and it's never been something for me that's been too detrimental. I mean, I don't step on the scale and think, wow, I gained 2 pounds. I suck. Like my self-worth is like, I'm worth nothing. But, I use it as a tool to make sure, for one, that I'm fueling enough, because if I start losing weight a lot, then I know that that's a problem. If I'm just suddenly dropping pounds, that means that I am being too restrictive and I'm not fueling myself the way that I need to be. So, I mean, it's been I'm 5.5 years into, I guess technically, if you consider it the first time I lost weight, I'm over 10 years into a weight loss journey, and I still don't have it figured out. I'm an endurance athlete. I race with the elite athletes. I work out literally every day. Every now and then I have a day off. And I still struggle with body image. I still struggle with when I gain a few pounds here and there. Like it's just, it's really hard not to, but I think the key is to make sure that you have like positive role models, like people that you can go to, educated people, not the Googles, not the YouTube channels all the time, like that either you yourself have the ability to do the evidence-based research, or you have somebody with an education that you can reach out to, for guidance, because I think that I kind of lost my train of thought, but like those things are what keep you in check. Like not following like Instagram influencers with perfect bodies. Like I follow my own community, other people who are doing the same things that I'm doing. Even those people are going to look different than me. And that doesn't mean that I am any less. But in the running community, it is hard to not think like, well, if I just weighed a little bit less. Also, when you're throwing your body across walls and like monkey bars, it is hard not to think like, oh, well, maybe these 10 pounds are weighing me down. And scientifically, they could be a little bit. But if I'm eating 1,500 calories a day and trying to go do a 2.5 hour run, that's also not going to work. And I'm going to suffer in that way. So I'm still learning, especially like as I'm evolving as an athlete, because my life hasn't just totally remained the same. I have to just keep learning and adapting and making sure that I utilize the right tools.
I think that you are amazing. Your story is encouraging. And I think it's interesting and good, kind of like with the wall earlier. I think as we go through life, it doesn't matter what you look like, what your education level is, income, anything external. I feel like it is common to take what you're doing. Like for me with the overwall, I'm embarrassed of my weight. I'm embarrassed because I'm trying to do a Spartan and I can't go over the wall. It's literally to start the race, I have to go over a wall or do burpees. And that hit to like your pride and your ego as you like start doing burpees at the finish at the start line. And you think, I'm the only one. I am a failure. Like I am such a, like you start like putting all of these things on that comparison, and the comparison is flawed. It's not real. Like there's, like I said, there's people that skip it, that they just didn't go over it. They probably could have, they just didn't. Mm-hmm. And there are elite athletes that sometimes have an injury, but it's not uncommon across the scale of everyone to not be able to go over the wall, at least not as uncommon as the lie I was telling myself as I did burpees to start. So mm-hmm. maybe it's not, every time you see a race, you're going to have 100 people not do it. Like that's probably not true, but does not make me a failure because I can't. And even when you get to where you're going, we still struggle. Like we're human. So it doesn't matter when we're on a weight loss journey and we lose the weight, we're still going to face struggles. When you achieve great things, like you have achieved awesome things in finding yourself as an athlete, just that journey to like being, someone who played sports, because that's really what you do in a small town is you play all the sports. Like that's common. Mm-hmm. To finding, your own, like your competitive nature, like that's a big undertaking and something to celebrate. But even having things to celebrate, it doesn't necessarily make everything perfect. I just think it's interesting. And I kind of lost my whole point, but.
Well, and like you said, with the wall, the thing is like, I'm a race elite now, but like I struggled to get over that wall before. And I truly do believe, like, although when I first went to do Spartan race, it was all about like, just try as hard as you can. Like I fully believe that everybody should go out there and just do it for fun. Like my dad has a lot of like, health issues and stuff. And he could never, like, he wouldn't even be capable of going and walking one, like just walking the course wouldn't be possible for him. And so I think if you're even, like, I just say that because he's went to a race with me before. And I know he was like, man, I'd love to be a part of that. Cause there's people of all ages, sizes, abilities out there. And like, I wouldn't, I'm glad that you didn't let that like thought of like, oh, I need to wait and do it later. Like keep you, like I may have done it at the right time because I found it when I lost my weight and discovered being competitive. But I think doing one at any time in somebody's life or journey really like can make a big difference and motivate them and change them. So I definitely think that people shouldn't wait, for the right time. Like you're out there doing like the DECA strongs and miles and fits and stuff. And like, that is awesome, which I'm hopefully heading to Florida next week to do my second DECA fit. And that's another thing that's like different for me. And I was like, maybe I should just do age group. Because if I did age group, I could win. And I kind of miss winning. But I'm not going to because I've already, committed to elite. Okay, I say that, but then I'm like, who knows what'll happen next weekend. But, I just think it's cool to get out there and try and, continue to, improve yourself and see what you're capable of. And like, you don't have to wait until you can do every obstacle. There's a lot of people that do that, but like, I felt obstacles literally all the time. Also embarrassing, but like I felt a lot of obstacles. I kind of suck at obstacle course racing. In age group, I could fail obstacles and still win. Elite, not so much. So I'm still working on that. It's embarrassing to be the only one that might fail something, but you know what? I'm out there. So
no, I think that's amazing. Or what's the saying? Like if you're at the top of the pack, if you're at the top of a class, like maybe you're in the wrong class. Like if you've bumped the ceiling and you're always on top, maybe it's because you're in the wrong room. So like graduating and then refusing to let essentially ego bring you back into age group is admirable, because you'll get there. And it really doesn't matter like how you stand at the end of it. It doesn't matter how you stand against your peers. It's how you stand before yourself, with your values and with the work that you put in and measuring yourself, however that is. And that might be, a podium win, and that's okay if that is. But I love that you encourage everyone to do it, even if it's just for fun. And I think I'm glad that I did, because I have that inclination to say that is out of my reach, even when it's not. And so I think it's very likely that if I hadn't attempted it earlier this year, that next year, let's say I'm down another 50 pounds, or maybe I've even lost more and I'm close to my goal weight, that I might deny even trying because I haven't been able to practice and do all of the obstacles. And that would be sad. Like, just going forward and doing whatever it is that we can to whatever capacity we can and giving it our all is so valuable in, I think, building self-worth and in helping us get a little better each day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I kept waiting, I wouldn't have ever done age group before, and I definitely wouldn't be an elite right now. I would still just be an open, and then my life wouldn't be what it is. So
if you were going to go back and give yourself advice, would you give?
Was like to truly do it for you and to truly understand why you are doing it. Because if you're doing it literally for aesthetic reasons or whatever, like it's not going to work. And you also have like to commit to yourself, like I guess to make it a lifelong commitment to commit the time to learning and growing, like to not just, if that makes sense, like not just like following a diet, like commit the time, the money, whatever you need to, like if to learn how to do it the right way. Because I mean, I just feel like that first, I learned from myself through that first experience, but I feel like I wasted time and went through some things I wouldn't have had to go through. But I was also young at that time. I was like 21. And I don't think that I was capable of looking at things the way that I am now. So I think just making sure you have the right tools. But I know that that's hard because there's so many tools out there. But I know everybody goes back to that why thing, but that really is important. If you're doing it because like your husband doesn't tell you you're beautiful anymore, or like because your grandma used to always tell you you were fat, or because you, I don't know, you just want to look good in a swimsuit. Maybe those can be the roots of it, but like you need to do it because you want to feel good. You need to do it because you know that you are willing and capable to commit the time and effort to do it. Like that is what is important. And I think like you have to commit. And if you are a person who struggles with commitments in other areas, I think that's something you really have to work on before you get started on trying to lose weight or start essentially you're just starting a new habit, right? Or breaking a habit. Like it takes a lot of time and commitment, and you have to be willing to put that in, because it's not just something you can wake up every day and like choose to make good choices or whatever, but it is a long-term commitment that you have to be able to stay focused. And if you can't, even, I don't know, I think you need You need
Yeah,
to.
well, I think you have a good point because you do have to stay focused, but what you're focused on has to stay relevant in order for you to stay focused. So if
Mhm.
your focus is, I want to lose 120 pounds, let's say, I'm just making up a number, so that I
Mhm.
can wear a swimsuit and feel really good at the beach. Well, I lose 120 pounds and I put a bathing suit on and I have excess skin and I look in the mirror and I hate what I see. Well, not only are you like, you lose that sense of progress, you just lost 120 pounds and that's amazing. But now you've also lost your motivation to continue because your motivation was just to look good in your bathing suit and you don't. And so
Mhm.
your options are to get surgery or like most likely that's not going to be the case and you're just going to essentially relapse. I hate using that word, but like you're going to go back.
Yeah,
I think,
revert.
yeah, and I think I something I like about anything that we choose to try to achieve, like any goal, start and we start with the smallest thing. It doesn't matter what it is, but if we can have the consistency and the discipline to do one thing and then to do it over and over and over again, eventually that does become a habit you probably don't have to think about. And then you can add more things. And so it doesn't feel like you're sustaining this huge will of work, although you are, and it's built on blocks that you've built up over time. So a long weight loss journey is not for everyone. And not necessary. It is, I feel like I'm doing things in a way that's necessary for me. And I think something you've said throughout, you have a skill set that I don't think everyone fully understands what it is to be able to like really research in a professional, like credible way and
Mhm.
sort through the noise to find like the good evidence based things that are out there. What would you say to people who don't have that skill set, like, but they need to be able to take ownership of their journey and move forward, but own their decisions and own what they're relying on? So, what would you suggest to them to start?
Um, I think that's hard because unfortunately I do think that that's a thing that like I guess my first thing would be like if say on social media, like don't follow every beach body like coach. That's what I used to do when I started losing weight, or like random influencers. And I can't say a good way of how to find the right people, but follow people that are registered dietitians. And will they always be right? No. But I think that like I follow a lot of those people, or go look for podcasts and pay attention to people's credentials. Like you're wanting to look for people who are registered dietitians, sports dietitians. And there's a lot of good podcasts out there. There's like, and of course, a lot of what I listen to applies to athletics, but like there's like Fit Cookie Nutrition, there's Rise Up Nutrition. Because you can even go on to like Inside Tracker's website and you can get links to evidence. Like so, a lot of times, like Inside Tracker is somebody who is very credible and they use very well educated people. I mean, maybe they might have things on there that are not, but that would not be, common. And usually they link, resources. And I think like, so I go to like Google Scholar, and I would type in, but again, you have to have the ability to know how to read the research. So that's the hard. I would go to Google Scholar and I would type in like an example, like what problems can B12 cause, or like low B12 cause. And then I would know to click on the article and then go down to the discussion area. And then in the discussion area, we'll talk about the findings of the study, or in the abstract. But again, that's like complicated for your everyday average person. But I just think making sure that people have credentials, and the credentials aren't just, even NASM certified sports dietitian. I think they have stuff like that. That doesn't mean anything.
They don't have
can't.
dietitian, they have nutritionist. And in the course of the next 2 days, could become NASM certified.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Anybody
so,
can read the book and take the test.
Yeah. So it's important. And there's so many different certifications. However, if you didn't know, there are certifications that are only available. And I didn't mean you, I mean, people listening, certifications that are only available to people who have been to accredited universities. Yes. So if you're like, it just depends on what you're looking for. Do you need that though? I think trusting yourself is something it's hard to do, especially if you're coming from a place where maybe you haven't been able to trust yourself, and it's a process to get there. But finding people that you trust who are credentialed or good, and then also trusting yourself to make good decisions for yourself is also important.
Yes, and absolutely.
It is so catching. It's so catching to have really enthusiastic people talk about Beachbody, and then all of a sudden, like, you're signed up and ready. And all that's really happening is you're giving a lot of your money away for something that you could get for free on YouTube, if that's what you're looking for. Also, just going to a gym is not going to get you the most accredited or great trainer. Just like going to a hospital does not guarantee that you're going to get the most qualified medical professional. We all have to kind of captain our own. Yeah. And captain our own ship. And if you have a doubt, then go forward, like not thinking that you know it all or trusting your Google research abilities, because what Amber's saying is that it's not her ability to just look up flippantly information and read it. She's looking at studies, the research in a specific way, because that's her background. So, however, it's only dangerous if you believe full-heartedly everything that you're reading. If you're information gathering, that's different. And then moving forward, more educated, but with the understanding like what you collected is just stuff.
And don't be afraid to reach out to people. Like if you're on Instagram and you see a post by a nutritionist, or you find something on Google on someone's blog, like don't be afraid to reach out to them via like email or Instagram message or something, and just say like, hey, I read this, like I'm working on trying to figure out how to eat healthier, and I'm just like not really sure where to go. Can you provide me some resources? Like people, if they see your message, maybe they won't, but like people are usually happy to do that. And I'm not saying that the things that they provide will be right, but if you ask around and, that I think that that's a great way to go, and like to find people. Like online can be terrible because you can stumble upon the wrong stuff, but like it also is worth it to ask. Like you can reach out, to anybody, like to me, to April, like you could reach out to somebody that you follow on Instagram that, says registered dietitian. Like you can go to, say, Inside Tracker. They have somebody that wrote an article. You go and you find that person on Instagram. You send them a message. Most people are open to communicating like that. Or if you listen to a podcast from somebody, go find them on Instagram, like send them a message. Like it's okay to ask questions. And yes, you're not always going to get the answers you want, or like maybe it's not always the best information, but I do think that asking around is going to get you more than like diving down a deep, dark hole on the internet. And some of the information on the internet, you might not even realize was published like 10 years ago. It could be somebody's blog that's like 10 years old, and maybe that stuff isn't even relevant anymore. So,
yeah. Well, what I love about the idea of asking around, like what you're suggesting, is that we're not attaching ourselves to one ideology. And I don't know what it is. I feel culturally, we are very prone right now to latch on to ideas and then really just burrow in. So if there's like this one YouTuber that you like, then everything they say you're like passionate about, or like this one diet that you like, well, everyone should do this diet because it's so great. And we get tunnel vision when most things do exist on it's more fluid. And what's right for you today might not be right for you in 5 years, or in 2 weeks, something might change. So being open to change, and then to doing the work to figure out what it is that you need, and reaching out to multiple sources, which I love. I don't know if I would have thought of looking at the writer of an article and then looking them up on Instagram.
That's what I usually do. Yeah. Cause I'm like, oh, I want more of their information. So then I go look, and then I get a vibe, see if I like their stuff.
Awesome.
And then,
in closing, I know we don't have too much more time before it's going to kick us off.
Mm-hmm.
With Fly Nutrition, can you share how you found her and how that was helpful for you, specifically how it helped you go forward with your diet and feeling more confident in what you were doing?
So I actually just found her through other people in the endurance community that I follow on Instagram, sharing her content and their stories. And then I started following her, and I really liked she puts out what you call infographics that are like short bits of easily accessible information. And I just really liked, like, she's all focused on like nutrition to enhance performance. And so I just reached out to her and had a consult with her. And then her name's Kylie Van Horn. I think she has a co-dietitian, but actually speaking of like looking around, searching around, before I consulted with her, I went on Spotify and I typed in her name, and I listened to pretty much every podcast she's ever been a guest on, to make sure that I really liked her and that I liked what she stood for and that she was going to be able to help me. I think she helped me, like, diet wise. A lot of what I changed was my breakfast, like eating more. I used to just do like toast and jam or butter before every workout. So I started fluctuating how much I was eating based on my workout. Like for breakfast, I changed the amount of protein that I was taking, like protein to carb ratio and stuff. And she's very like, don't focus on counting, but just getting kind of a fluid idea, making sure after a workout that I was taking in protein immediately within a half hour. I just needed the accountability. A lot of it was like actually stuff that I knew should be a thing, but like I needed somebody to tell me to do it and then to like verify that I did it. Yeah. So a lot of it was just nutrient timing is what she really focuses on. So I was making sure that, like, if I was going to eat a cookie, like, it would be better to eat it either right before or right after a workout, not at 11 o'clock in the middle of the day. If I was going like at night, maybe eat brown rice before I go to bed, whereas like at lunch, I could eat white rice because maybe I was going to do workout after lunch. So just choosing the type of foods you're eating to best enhance your performance and to be able to benefit most from them. So it was a lot of little details like that I felt like you couldn't just pick up, from Googling or whatever. And she was able to cater it like specifically kind of to me. So I don't know if I answered all your questions.
No, you did. And I love that. I feel like the way you've kind of described your journey is, you started and you move forward with what you knew. And then you ran into a roadblock where you're like, maybe I need some help here. And then you reach out for help. But it seems like throughout your entire story, even though there were times where maybe it wasn't the ideal situation of things that you were doing, as soon as you felt or realized or came to an understanding, whether that's from outside, you did kind of an internal like, okay, is this right? Well, my trainer's saying I should eat more. So what do I do with that? And then you did research and work, and then you move forward. And when you're talking about the Fly Nutrition, you talked about listening to the podcast and then more of a reaffirming that you're doing the right thing. So it's like you've taken ownership of your direction and what you're doing the entire way, and then made adjustments using the right tools or the right people to encourage and validate and help course correct as needed. And I think that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. The very last thing, would you like to tell them about the study that you're doing?
Amongst being an athlete, I am also a social psychology PhD student. And so while this isn't like super related to sports, I do eventually want to finish my social psychology degree so that I can study the social psychology of sports. So I'm conducting a study on adults with avoidant attachment and their online dating experiences. So basically, I'm looking to interview adults who are 25 to 40 years old, who are actively dating online, currently single, and who might be those people that are, they want to find love, but they have a hard time getting close to people. When people try to get close to them, they shut them down. They're really uncomfortable with intimacy. So I am working on that, and I'm hoping that I can get that done in the next 6 months or so that I can start those studies I spoke of earlier. I would like to start actually do some of my own research on eating, like social behavior and eating in the sports communities, and also like the social psychology behind people doing sport, like mud run, like OCR, stuff like that. So yeah, hoping to get this done with, because it was something that I started before I was so into sport, so that I can kind of like move forward and do research on the things I'm passionate about now, although still obviously passionate about this. But
the contact information for Amber, if you'd like to participate, is on the wakeupbright.com website. Her Instagram is AmberMay_OCR. That is AMBERMAE_OCR. Amber, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for inspiring and continuing to inspire me through sharing your story here and on your Instagram. It is always so encouraging to see you posting your competitions. You are incredible, and I am grateful to know you. And thank you so much for listening today. I look forward to talking to you next time.